In 1950, 2 years after Israel became a state, my father's sister Estelle became enchanted by Zionism. She had spent her summers at Zionist youth camp, and upon turning 18 and graduating from high school, she promptly informed my grandparents and her 2 older brothers that she was going to get on a ship and move to build the state of Israel. She was hopelessly idealistic, and her youthful enthusiasm took her from Borough Park, Brooklyn, to the empty Negev desert. There, as Esther, she worked with other young people to till the land, and she built, with her colleagues, a kibbutz that now flourishes. My aunt had a dream to create a state where Jews could determine their own destiny, care for each other, and for the world together. They envisioned an idyllic community where they shared the work and the benefits, and they dreamed it into reality. Today, 60 years later, Kibbutz Be'eri looks like this: an affluent, gorgeous oasis in the desert with a world-class printing press, road biking, and wildflower sighting. But back in 1950, when my aunt told my family that she was getting on this boat, they were petrified. Their little sister going thousands of miles away for what? For a dream. A dream is the basis of all philanthropy. We dream for a more peaceful world, for a more just and equitable society, for a more engaged Jewish community where each individual can reach their potential and have the ability to dream for themselves. To actualize a dream, we need to take risks. We need to get on that ship and sail far, far away without the benefits of cell phone and email. And once we take that risk, we need to have a healthy dose of patience. Dreams, risk, patience. That's the recipe for making an investment. Dreams, risk, patience. Now let's be honest. Jews often have a hard time with the patience part. I grew up in Flatbush, Brooklyn, and Sunday nights were kosher delicatessen nights. And whether we were at Edelman's and Kings Highway or Katz's Deli, the scene was pretty much the same. The patrons yelling at the waitstaff, and the waitstaff yelling back at the patrons. Everyone's running around. My family is at the free salad bar even before we ordered. And patience is not exactly the first word that comes to mind. In fact, I would venture to say, if we did a survey of adjectives associated with Jews, patience would be pretty far down the list, maybe next to laid back. Being the executive director of Joshua Venture Group is in many ways an exercise in patience. Joshua Venture Group funds social entrepreneurs who are building early-stage organizations to enrich and transform the Jewish community. One of our successful alumni ventures, Keshet, works for full inclusion and equality of lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and transgendered Jews in all of Jewish life. When Keshet's founding executive director, Idit Klein, received funding from Joshua Venture Group, it was difficult to see right away measurable results. But we understood that creating cultural and institutional change would be a longer process than what our 2 years of funding could yield. We must be patient in that case. When funding social entrepreneurs, my colleagues and I look for individuals who are taking bold risks, people like Idit Klein, like my Aunt Esther, like Theodore Herzl. We believe in them and we believe in their ideas, but we don't always know right away whether they will thrive. Like children or seedlings, they need nurturing and support, and most of all, time to grow. And we, in turn, need to wait. Recently, in academic business literature, a new term has been coined: patient capital. It's often referred to in social enterprise when for-profit entities are looking to create social value in addition to financial value. These companies have a difficult proposition with multiple goals, so they seek investors who will provide patient capital, investors who understand that profitability will take longer. When we talk about philanthropy, what do we talk about? We ask, what does success look like? Where's the growth and impact? And we ask a lot. How will it be measured? What are the indicators that will tell us that there's been progress after year one? Now, don't get me wrong. At Joshua Venture Group, we're just as concerned with measurements and results as the next venture philanthropist. But as I've seen over the years, we cannot be myopic in our view of philanthropy. Fulfilling a dream does not happen overnight, and not even 12 to 18 months. And the path is not always linear. When we see enormous potential in what may be a long-term effort, we need to act, take risks, and have faith. Sometimes annual measurements cannot be the only thing that we're looking at. Patient capital is just that, exercising patience to let nascent ideas take root. For my aunt, it took many years for her dream to come to fruition. And likewise, for Theodore Herzl, the original architect of this dream, it took decades for his vision to become a reality. Herzl is sometimes referred to as the first modern Jewish social entrepreneur. He had a vision of building a Jewish state, and he worked relentlessly towards it. People invested in him and in his vision. But if we had looked at his annual growth in the early years, what would it show? For years, no Jewish land. For decades, still, no Jewish land. As philanthropists, we must reconcile patience with assessment. How can we embrace this concept of patient capital while still aiming for growth and accountability? We can start by providing a longer horizon for our investments, not just 2 or 3 years, but 10, 15 years. We can also do so by looking closely, not just at the annual metrics, but at the potential of the idea and the competencies of the entrepreneur. If Herzl had been constantly asked for progress reports in his early years, 1948 might never have happened. And at Joshua Venture Group, we've had numerous organizations who don't show impressive results in their first year. But the dream is there. Sometimes the question to ask is not, what did they accomplish this year? The question to ask is this idea worth waiting for? Do we believe this risk is worth taking? Is it possible in this case we need to take a leap of faith? In the case of Keshet, in the early years, they focused on local community building and local institutional change in Boston. In those years, every time they received a vote of support from a rabbi or managed to facilitate a dialogue, it was a hard-won triumph. On paper, these triumphs didn't look so earth-shattering, but they were still important. And over the years, they added up. 11 years later, Keshet is a national organization working with synagogues, day schools, JCCs, youth groups, and summer camps all over the country. LGBT inclusion and equality has been largely embraced as a Jewish value in American Jewish life. Keshet went from being a tiny speck on the map to being a national force in facilitating change in policies, programs, and culture that has affected tens of thousands of Jews in the United States. There aren't a ton of stories in ancient Jewish literature about the value of patience. But there is the Talmudic story of Honi, the circle maker. The abbreviated version goes like this. Honi was walking down the path and he sees someone planting a seedling. He asks them, "When will we be able to enjoy the fruit of this tree?" And the person responds, "We will be able to enjoy this fruit in 70 years. And Honi is shocked. He says, 70 years? You're not going to see measurable results for 70 years? Why would you even do this? You probably won't even be alive when this happens." And the person replies, "Just as I'm eating carob from the tree that my grandfather planted for me, so too will my grandchildren be able to enjoy the fruit that this tree bears." Philanthropy is like planting seeds. We see sprouting, but the flourishing may not happen for many, many years. Dreams, risks, patience. My Aunt Esther, Edith Klein of Keshet, Theodore Herzl, they all understood and embraced this recipe for change. So now I ask, can we too embrace this recipe for Jewish philanthropy and bring us all closer to our dreams? Thank you.
Thanks for watching Eli Talks. Click through or subscribe to the Eli Talks channel for more inspired Jewish ideas.